Hi guys, it's Miranda from My Sister's Bookshelf, and today I have my June wrap-up for you. I read 11 things this month and I'm very excited for that. It was also Read-A-Rama at the beginning of the month, and so this also will include the wrap-up of that, so that really helped me to get my TBR pile down. I am very excited for the things I read. I don't have physical copies of all the things I've read because they were either on audiobook or it was a library book or something, so I don't have all of the copies. So the first thing I read in June was Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, and this was a complete surprise for me. I did listen to it on Audible, and the girl who played Jane in the American version of Pride and Prejudice, the movie, was the one who did the reading for Pride and Prejudice, and she just did a fantastic job. So I would definitely pick up the audiobook. It was definitely that's probably my favorite classic that I've ever read. If you don't know what Pride and Prejudice is, it's about 5 sisters who grew up in like the 18th century, where it's all about society and marrying and having children and so their mother is trying to marry them off to to men who are more wealthy, so that way they can have a good future. But the book is it's funny, it's endearing, and I love it. I loved all the characters in it too, and it reminds me of my family. I grew up with, there was 5 girls and 1 brother. So it was really, I really feel like I've connected with a lot of the characters, and I understand growing up with sisters and the relationships with them. I give Pride and Prejudice 5 out of 5 stars. The next thing I read in June was The Wrath and the Dawn, and that is by Renee Ahdieh. And I read that was another one that was on my Audible that I listened to. So The Wrath and the Dawn, I would give 4 out of 5 stars. I really was intrigued by the read. The first half of the book, I loved it. It is a retelling of the Thousand Nights, where a king takes a bride, and every night he takes a new bride, and every night he kills her. And so then our main character, she volunteers to be his next bride, and she ends up keeping her life the first night because she is telling him stories. And it was a really interesting read, and I was very intrigued by it, and I like the whole romance of it I really liked. But about halfway through, or maybe a little over halfway through, there's a little bit of a twist. They do bring in a little bit of supernatural element to it, and I wasn't 100% thrilled with that because I think the story was good by itself without that element. So that's why I think I lowered it to 4 stars, because to me it didn't need that. And they added that. I just didn't, so I don't know. I still enjoyed the read. I don't know if I'll pick up the next book. The next thing I read in June was Peter Pan, and that is by J.M. Barrie. This is another classic I read. I did listen to the audiobook, and I thought the audiobook was very youthful and lively, and I think it was a really great audiobook. I did give this book 4 out of 5 stars. It was harder for me to really 100% enjoy this book because from a maternal instinct inside of me that wants to help Peter and the Lost Boys, and so the whole story was I was torn because I wanted to just enjoy it and have this youthful, childish, just imagination and fun with it. And the other part of it, I was sad for Peter and for the Lost Boys for not having parents and not having a real life. But by the end of the book, I did enjoy it, and I think it moved me, and I don't know, at the end I was feeling quite sad. But I would still give it 4 out of 5 stars. The next thing I read, and this was during Read-A-Rama, was The Sculptor by Scott McCloud, and this is a graphic novel. It's a quite large graphic novel. It's about 488 pages, I think, total. I got this from my library. I do think there are parts of this that were beautiful. I like the monotoned, illustrations. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. And I think that there was just parts of me that I think in the end I just felt more sad than what I wanted from the story. So what this is about a man who has basically lost everything. He is a sculptor, and he's never made it really big. He's had opportunity, but never taken him to that next level. Well, then he gets really depressed, and then he makes a deal that he would give his life for his art. And so then he becomes like this incredible sculptor. And along the way, he meets a girl who helps him to see different things. I don't want to give too much away from it. In the end, even now, like I've read this early this month, even now, I still don't know 100% how I even feel about it because it was such a perplexing story. I do think that it's a beautiful story. I think it's beautifully done. I don't know if I enjoyed it. I think that it deserves 4 or 5 stars because of the way it was written. I think it was very well written. I think the illustrations were beautiful. But I don't know if it was my kind of read because in the end I felt more sad. And I don't know. The next thing I read, and this was another one for Read-A-Rama, is The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. And I've never read this. And my friends have always been telling me to pick this up. If you don't know what The Hunger Games is about by now, it is about a girl who lives in a dystopian society. And every year they have the reaping, which is where they send a boy and a girl from each district to a arena where they basically fight to the death. It was really, this book was so much better than I expected it to be. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I did not expect to appreciate it as much as I did. There was so much hype around this book that I didn't really want to read it. For Booksplosion, it was Hunger Games Appreciation Month for Booksplosion, and so I just took that time to. I was like, okay, I'll go ahead and read the first one. I flew through it. I think I read it in 2 sittings. It was really good. I really did like it. 5 out of 5 stars. The next thing I read is another graphic novel, and this is A-Force Presents, and this is it is basically they say it's like the beginning of the girl version of Avengers. I think it's by Marvel now, but what it is it's actually, I think 6 different episodes for different characters, and these are all girl superheroes. So they have Miss Marvel, they have Captain Marvel, they have the girl version of Thor, they have Black Widow, Squirrel Girl, and She-Hulk. And so it does like the first comic of each of their series in this Marvel Now universe. So it's like 6 different stories from the 6 different characters. But I hope it's like leading up to something. Anyways, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I would give Miss Marvel on its own 5 out of 5 stars, and Captain Marvel. I did like Captain Marvel a lot too, and I think I would have given that 5 out of 5 stars. But I did enjoy it. The next thing I read, I don't have a physical copy of because once again, I listened to the audiobook, and that is Summer Days and Summer Nights, and this is edited by Stephanie Perkins. I do plan on doing a full review on this one. It is 12 short stories about summer, and they're all by different authors, including Veronica Roth, Stephanie Perkins does one, Leigh Bardugo does one. There's a bunch of different authors. I gave this whole book 3 out of 5 stars. There were stories within it that I was completely disappointed by, and then there were others that I absolutely loved. My favorites in this one for sure was like Inertia by Veronica Roth. I gave the book in all 3 out of 5 stars because I was disappointed with most of the stories. The next thing I read in June is 7 Up by Jana Ivanovich. This is the 7th book in the One for the Money series. It's a Stephanie Plum series. It's an adult mystery series where Stephanie Plum is a bounty hunter. I just love them. I fly through them very quickly. They're usually less than 400 pages each. I think this year they're coming out the 23rd. But I just love them. I just keep them in my purse. They're hilarious. They're great for summer. And I give this one 5 out of 5 stars. The next thing I read was 10,000 Skies Above You by Claudia Gray. And this was another one I listened to on my Audible. I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars. This is the sequel to her Thousands Pieces of You book. It's the 2nd book in the Firebird series. So it deals a lot with interdimensional travel, which I think is very, very cool. And I thought it was really good. It continues on from the last story. I don't want to give away too much because it is the 2nd book in this series. I look forward to continuing it. I will say though, in the beginning of this book, I was a little bit worried because the first 100 pages, the main character talked a lot about like destiny and true love, and I just think it was a little bit sappy for me, but by the end I really did enjoy it. I thought it was a really good book, and I think that that was good for the character to go through that because it showed how she transformed as a character and grew. So I do think it was a necessary part of the book, and I would definitely suggest picking up this series. The next thing that I read this month was probably my favorite book, or my favorite read. I would say probably for the year. It was definitely one of my, it was just so good, and I'm definitely going to be doing a full review on that, and that is My Lady Jane. And this is by Cynthia Hand. It's by 3 other authors as well. I'll insert their names below because I do not remember right now. Another one I listened to on Audible for. I give this one 5 out of 5 stars. It is a historical fiction novel based on the life of Lady Jane Grey. She was queen for 9 days after her cousin King Edward died, and she was only queen for 9 days because overthrown and beheaded. But this novel is so good. It's hilarious. If you have Audible, or if you can get the hold of the audiobook, I suggest getting the audiobook. It was one of my favorite audiobooks that I think I've ever listened to. It was hilarious. It was gripping. I flew through it. It was just so good. I'm gonna do a full review probably by the end of the month, and I definitely suggest picking it up. Definitely 5 out of 5 stars. The last thing I read for June is the all new, all different Avengers, and this is volume 1, The Magnificent Seven. So it's based on Miss Marvel. It's a different Captain America. I think his name is Sam Wilson. Iron Man, I forget his, Nova, I think, and the girl version of Thor, Vision, and Spider-Man. And I just thought it's a fun read. It's cool to kind of see these new characters being the Avengers, and I think I will continue with the series. I think it was a fun read. I give it 4 out of 5 stars just because some of it I didn't really understand, and it's probably because I need to read these other side characters, or all the other characters' stories. But I just thought it was quite fun, so I think I will continue in the series. So that's all I have for you for my June wrap up, and I look forward to seeing what all you guys all read in June. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.